Air Assault. Hello, friends, and welcome to Shero Coffee Chat. We hope you've had a great week, and thank you for joining us today. We've got a full cup ahead, so grab your Shero coffee, because we're taking a spin around the Shero resource table. Plus, we've got your chat, tip, and guest of the week. Let's give a big shout out to our host, Melissa Farmer-Hill, Army Combat Veteran, host of Shero Coffee Chat, and founder of the Shero Coffee Club, where we keep the world caffeinated and women veterans celebrated. And now, reporting for duty and ready to lead the conversation, Melissa Farmer-Hill.
Air Assault! Good morning, friends. Yes, and welcome to the Shero Coffee Chat, where coffee meets conversation for our military and veteran communities. I hope you are having a great weekend. Are you having a great weekend? I really do hope you are. And thanks for joining us today. Today is my absolute last day to record from Gulf Shores. It's been so amazing. We are now headed to Tennessee. We won't be there for long, but we're headed to Tennessee and going to hang out there for a little bit and then head, to the Windy City, where, a different type of weather waits for us. But yes, once again, thank you for joining us today. We have got our Shero coffee in our Shero cup, right? Are you armed and dangerous, right? And we're ready to get into it. So let's go. So today I am rocking, as you can see, my t-shirt. Yes, I am rocking with the Office for Military Affiliated Communities at the University of Chicago, OMAC. I love the way they put the chevrons in there. I really like the way they designed this t-shirt. And at OMAC, they're doing some wonderful, wonderful things. I think it's worthy of talking about. Over at University of Chicago. Their office was created to support veterans and service members and ROTC students and military families as they really kind of navigate school and career goals and life transitions, right? Those are the big decisions that have to be made because this is your life, They provide guidance on benefits, which is excellent. They help students get connected on campus and make sure that no one has to figure it all out on their own. I love that because navigating through college definitely can be daunting. They host programs and events and conversations, things like that help build the community and definitely make space for people with military backgrounds, make sure that they feel supported. And that's super important that you feel supported, especially navigating through college. And what I think I appreciate most is really the intention behind it, creating a space where military affiliated students can grow, build new pathways and make new steps into their next chapter of their lives. And they can do it with a little more confidence, knowing that this office has their back. So that's what this T is representing. That's who I am shouting out today. Thank you for the work you do. And thank you for helping students at the University of Chicago and their families feel supported throughout their educational journey. So yes, shout out to them. We're going to hit the Shero resource table back to back because we got to get on the road. So we're going to hit it back to back. All right. As you know, at Shero Coffee Chat, we know that life is truly a journey, right? And that journey is not always easy. That's why I always say, you guys, you got to keep your head on a swivel when it comes to helping our veterans and their families. We have over 16 million veterans out there, and not one of us has all the answers, but together we can definitely find solutions. I do believe that. And that's what the Shero resource table is all about. It's all about sharing information, resources, and programs, because I say this every week, right? When one of us wins, what happens? We all win. And those are facts. And at today's resource table, I want to share something important that's happening in Cook County and about property taxes. And it could be around your neck of the wood too. So this came to my attention after I watched it was a Fox news story in Chicago, and it was last month, and it just came back up to me today. Not today, but this week. And it really showed how easily veteran homeowners can definitely get caught in a system error that has some serious consequences behind it. But it's not only veterans, it could be anyone, but I am speaking specifically on this story. The person was a veteran. So the story was about an Army veteran. I think his name was Martin Guest. Yeah. He is a service-connected disabled veteran with a rating that qualifies him to receive, a full property tax exemption in the great state of Illinois. It's 70 or more. He was hit, you guys, with a tax bill saying that he owed more than $10,000, even though he was qualified for, a property tax exemption. Now, his mortgage company saw that number and they took it as facts. They believed it. And they believed it was real and actually started foreclosure on his home. Yes, I repeat, they actually started foreclosure on his home. Well, we see it, it's there. And it took Fox 32 News Chicago, shout out to Tia Ewing for definitely reporting on this, but it took a news channel to get involved for the assessor's office to step in, issue a certificate, and fix it. And that's exactly why, I'm sharing this with you today, because something like this should never reach a point where we have to go to the news. The news has to step in to protect us as veterans or protect us as residents of Illinois. And your state too. Now, Cook County is, if you don't know, Cook County is already a rough place when it comes to property taxes. Whole bunch of political promises, we're still kind of waiting for. But our property tax system is known for delays and data issues and errors. Thousands of homeowners every year appeal their tax bills because so many assessments just come back flat out wrong. So when you combine, a stress system, it's already rough, with complicated exemptions like the tax exemption for veterans, it's not surprising really that mistakes do happen, right? But for veterans, or for him especially, that mistake can be, or for him, it was very costly. In Illinois, veterans have a property tax benefits, to provide relief. And if you have, like I said earlier, 70% or higher connected disability rate, and you can qualify for full exemption. There are also some other exemptions where veterans, who have lower ratings can possibly qualify for like partial reductions. You can get the returning veterans, they can receive a 2-year exemption under that returning veterans homestead exemption. And then there's also exemptions available for World War II veterans and some surviving spouses, I think. But these exemptions are not automatic. And that's what we have to remember. They require filing, updating, sometimes annual renewal. And then even if the county has everything correct in their system, your mortgage company still may not know. And that's important. They still might not know that you're exempt. And that means that, especially with the mortgage company, because that could mean that they'll continue to escrow money that you don't owe or treat it like a tax bill delinquency. And that's exactly what happened in our story, right? But this is why I think it's just so important that veterans in Cook County to verify your exemptions with the Cook County Assessor's Office and contact your mortgage company so they know too. And if you live in the Cook County suburbs of Illinois, Check your village or township. Shout out to Rich Township, my township, and Paula Farr. I had a similar situation, or we had a similar situation a couple of years back, and she helped us navigate through that process. And one thing I don't want you to do, and I'm going to repeat this, do not assume that just because your exemption is active or it was approved, that mistakes won't happen. You need to take the time out to confirm. And if something looks wrong, call for help. Assessor's office, ask them for a certificate of error or whatever you need. And don't forget to let your mortgage company know. You have to make sure that they're in communication, or they're looking at the same picture, really. So that's what you want to do. And I just wanted to share this because these issues can definitely catch us off guard, right? And a simple paperwork issue, a misrenewal, or a delay in processing can turn into a major financial hardship. And, I hope you can take this information, check your own status, share it with other veterans. A 5-minute check today, a 5-minute check on how your paperwork is looking today can prevent a 5-figure problem tomorrow. All right. So the good news is in that story is that he squared away and is no longer facing foreclosure after Cook County fixed his property tax bill. So that is good news. That's wonderful news. So let's move right into our chat of the week. Yes, and I probably did that wrong. I probably did that wrong. I just learned that whole thing yesterday, but I do have some tea for you. And here's what I want. Here's what I want to know. Let me take a sip. When did it become a good solution to help veterans by making veterans pay for the help they need? Make it make sense. I'll wait. Because one thing I'm old enough to know is that every time this country hits a crisis, money shows up. Show me the money. We got it. When the financial system crashed, billions appeared, right, to bail out the banks. When the auto industry was collapsing, y'all remember that? Billions were poured in to keep that car industry alive and those car companies. Everyone should have gotten at least one check, right, for COVID. We funded wars, we funded corporations, we funded entire industries because they were considered too big to fail. So don't tell me this country doesn't have money. We got it. And President Trump is still continuing to make money moves. If you can look past all the politics and see that. But what we seem to have a shortage of is our priorities. So the Veteran Affairs Committee is reviewing a proposal inside the Sherry Briley. I know you guys have heard it. The Sherry Briley and Eric Edmondson Veterans Benefits Expansion Act, the House Resolution 6047, right? All right. And here's what a part of that bill aims to do as I see it. It would raise disability compensation for catastrophically injured veterans, and it would increase survivor benefits for families whose loved one died from a service-connected injury. We need that. I repeat, we need that. No one is going to disagree with you on that. Both groups definitely deserve more. But the real challenge is, to me, who's going to pay for it, or how they want to pay for that proposal. So anytime you have a great idea, right, it has to be funded, and you have to find ways, the government has to find ways to get the money in order to fund it, social programs. So one of the ideas being discussed is to, in order to offset the cost, is to start charging some disabled veterans a VA funding fee when they use their VA home loan benefit again to buy their next primary residence. So what does that mean? Let me be clear. We are talking about using your VA loan for a second, for your next primary resident. So if I wanted to move, as I understand it, please, I don't know everything, but I'm just bringing things to your awareness. Andrea and I live in Illinois, right? That's our primary resident. What if we wanted to leave Illinois and come move to Gulf Shores? So we sell that house and get another primary resident, right? It's not a vacation property. It's not an investment property, which I can kind of understand maybe a funding fee for that. I'm just saying we don't have to, but I can understand that more than this primary, the second primary residence. So right now, under the rules, disabled veterans, those, those with 70% ratings or below, they don't have to pay a funding fee right now at all. So this proposal would change that by removing that exemption for some veterans when they use the VA loan a second time. Yes, when they use it a second time. And let me stress this. This is only a proposal, all right? We're just talking about it. It's still in the committee. It's still being debated. It's not on the House floor, to my knowledge. It's not in the Senate, and absolutely not law yet. But the fact that this idea, and I would imagine that they have many HR resolutions that they try to get passed into law, but and some of them are probably worse than this. And the one I'm thinking about is how one of the proposals, but I don't think it reached H as a House resolution. One of the ideas floating around was to, remove some benefits if you made a certain amount of money and things like that. But I just want to say it is not law, but it is being considered, right? And so that's why every veteran needs to pay attention, because it shows exactly where some decision makers are willing to look for money. And that brings me to a bigger question. Why does helping one veteran have to come at the expense of another? Why are we lifting one group up by digging deeper into the pockets of a different group that also served? The VA home loan, I think, is one of the few benefits that consistently works. It definitely is, it's worth it. It's one of the few benefits that just about every veteran with an honorable discharge or can actually use, right? It gives family stability. It helps in just buying your home, when traditional lenders would probably shut the door. And now there's a conversation about weakening it, It's a conversation about weakening it. And I think, that's a little bit backwards. And that's my honest take. Stop trying to solve problems by creating new ones for the very people who've earned the benefits. Veterans should not be the funding source for veteran care and veteran benefits. So all we can do is just, stay alert and stay informed, and don't let proposals like this, slip quietly. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on, because what starts in a committee can definitely change the lives of millions. Like I always say at the beginning, over 16 million veterans and families out there. It can definitely change if we're not watching. So we definitely need to be informed. And that's all I wanted to talk to you about on that. We're going to go right into our tip of the week. This is a good one. This is a good one, and it's not a tip for everybody, but it is the tip of the week. This week we have some good news, good news about veterans enroll in VA healthcare, right? So if you go to Jesse Brown, if you go to Hines in the great state of Illinois, I don't go to the hospital. I used to, up in the North Shore area near Gurney, North Chicago, but I just can't think of the name of the hospital right now. I really can't. But you can now, women, this is for you. You can now self-refer for many of the services you need. That means it's fewer hoops to jump through, like OBGYN, yes, fewer delays, more control of your own care. I mean, this is a good thing. So instead of waiting for multiple appointments, like contacting your primary care provider in order to get, go to the specialty clinic and then see an OBG, all of that, it's done. You can reach out directly for things like women's health services, mental health support, because we already knew that, screenings and different things like that. So this change is it's really good news, making sure women who served aren't getting stuck in the system that moves a lot slower than we would like it to. So if you are enrolled in VA healthcare, take a moment to check out what's available locally to you and excuse me, find out how that self-referral starts. Hey, your health, your voice, your power. That's good news. I'm so happy to hear about that. And so now, okay, it's the guest of the week. I like to give my guests a break in December because there's so much I would like to share with you throughout the year. So I take the month of December, after Thanksgiving, to go ahead and talk to you about the things that are going on and that are important. So one of the things is last week we talked about what did we talk about last week? We talked about about the truth. And the truth is you don't need a vision board, you need a vision, right? We talked about that last week. And so now I want to expand on that thing that we talked about. And so one of the things that I want to share with you is that once you have your vision, you definitely need to protect it, right? You have to protect your vision. And I think from last week, you don't need a vision board, you need a vision. Once you get that vision, you have to protect it. And when you're building a vision, one of the most important instructions that you can follow, to me, comes from Proverbs 4:23, where it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Take a sip to that. I'm grateful for that verse. So in simple terms, everything in your life, your decisions, your habits, your confidence, your discipline, your faith, everything starts in your inner world. Your outer world is just a reflection of what's going on in the inside. And I would say that both scripture and science agree, because science, tells you what you allow in your inner world shapes the future that you're trying to create, right? And so guarding your heart, your thoughts, and your mindset is definitely the engine room for your life. And your brain responds to every environment you place in it. The people you talk to, the routines you follow, the conversations you have, they all build patterns in your mind that influence how you show up. Yep. Your habits, your practice, all of that. And then the next thing after guarding your heart is definitely protecting your circle. And protecting your circles matter because your circles and the people in it shape your patterns. We start by mirroring the energy and the behavior of the people around us. Did you realize that? Like, for instance, especially like if you're a kid, if a kid no, there's a saying, and that saying goes, well, it used to be soldiers emulate their leaders. And in the same way, kids emulate their parents, right? So you definitely want to stay around people who lift you up. And it really isn't about cutting people off. I don't think you have to cut people off, but it's about just recognizing who you are in those circles, right? And if it doesn't lift you up or help you with your confidence or your faith or your discipline and things like that, then I would recommend that you quietly pull away from those things. So your circle is important too. And then we have, of course, my favorite is protecting your energy. Your energy matters because discipline requires fuel, right? Can you imagine if you just stayed stressed out constantly, always tired, overwhelmed, overstretched, carrying all of that emotional weight? How do you think your energy level is going to be? How do you think it's going to be? It's not going to be good. I'll tell you that. So protecting your energy is very important as well. But I wanted to tell you these three things because I think it's very important that we protect our circle, that we protect our energy, and we definitely have to discipline ourselves. And that's all I wanted to say. I'll continue on next week on the Shero Coffee Club. I just want to say I'm ready to hit the road. I'm ready to hit the road. And I hope you have a great week. And as always, keep your heart strong and your coffee Shero. I will see you next week.
Hey there, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this week's Shero Coffee Chat. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And hey, make sure your weekday begins with Shero Coffee, where we keep the world caffeinated and women veterans celebrated. You can visit us at sherocoffee.com. We'll see you next week right here on Shero Coffee Chat and have a blessed week.